Welcome to Musical Bible Stories. Today's musical guest instrument is the harpsichord. Our story begins about 2,000 years ago in the small town of Nazareth in Galilee. There lived a young woman named Mary, who was promised in marriage to a man named Joseph, who was a carpenter. One day, while Mary was in her house, the angel Gabriel appeared to her. Gabriel had a special message from God. "Don't be afraid, Mary. God has chosen you to be the mother of his Son. You will give birth to God's Son, and his name will be Jesus. Jesus will rule over God's people, and his kingdom will never end." Mary was very surprised that God had chosen her to be the mother of Jesus, God's Son. The angel Gabriel said, "Remember your cousin Elizabeth? Though she is old and has never had any children, she is now 6 months pregnant. This might seem impossible, but there is nothing that God cannot do." Then the angel departed. Soon after, Mary went to visit Elizabeth. "Hello, Cousin Elizabeth. I am so happy to see you again," said Mary. "Come inside. I have a true and wonderful story to tell you," Elizabeth replied. "My husband, Zechariah, was chosen to serve in the temple. While Zechariah was praying in the temple, suddenly an angel appeared to him. The angel said, 'Don't be afraid, Zechariah. God has heard your prayers, and your wife Elizabeth will give you a son. You will name him John.' Zechariah found it hard to believe this and said, 'But how can it be possible? My wife and I are too old.' The angel replied, 'Believe God's promise. Because you have doubted what I've told you, you won't be able to speak until the baby is born.' Elizabeth explained, 'Ever since Zechariah returned home, he has been unable to talk. Instead, he writes messages on a clay tablet.' Mary told her cousin, 'I am so happy you will have a child. I have come to bring you wonderful news too.' After Mary told her cousin about the baby that God had promised to her, they both gave thanks to God and sang praises to him. Mary stayed 3 months with her cousin, and then she returned to her home. Soon the time came for Elizabeth to have her baby, and she gave birth to a son. How proud Zechariah must be to have a son who will be named after him. But Zechariah surprised them, and he wrote that the baby would not be named Zechariah. Instead, his name would be John. At that moment, Zechariah was able to speak again, and he started praising God. The child, John, grew and developed in body and in spirit. When he was older, John lived in the desert until he appeared publicly to speak to the people of Israel. He became known as John the Baptist.